Okay, if you weren't here for the intro, my name is Todd Chafee. I work for Blue Crow. We're a London-based social media studio. And tonight I'm going to be talking about developing a Facebook timeline app. I said in the intro that Facebook made this public, I guess, mid-December. And I know a lot of developers are out there experimenting with this. But I thought I would give kind of the anatomy of the basis of how to build an app. So what we're going to build tonight is something called FDGL, Event Attendance Application. And the idea behind the app is really simple. It just lists some FDGL events. And let's say you clicked on the January 2002 event at the top of the list. You would go to a web page for that event. So that's a specific page for this event, and that will become important later. And then I could click on that Attend button, and it should publish something to my timeline. That's the idea. So very simple. Now we dive into the technical part. So if you're not technical, please bear with us. It won't be as painful as it looks. And at the end, I will be giving some business reasons for why you'd want to publish to the timeline. Okay? If you, I know sometimes code is tough to read up on screen. So if you want to look at the code, it's all published on GitHub at the address up there, Chafee, and then the FDGL timeline app. And the presentation is already up on SlideShare if you wanted to follow through on the slides. I don't know, is the internet still working here? We had problems before? People getting internet connection? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so this is the recipe for a timeline application. I got most of this from the Facebook tutorial. Step one, we create a Facebook app, which is not exactly what it sounds like. It's just the Facebook UI. And then authenticate users. Define action, object, and aggregation. We'll learn what that is in a second. And then publish your actions to your users. Facebook adds 2 additional steps, which we won't cover tonight, which is adding social plugins. And then also, really important, submitting your actions for approval. Iskandar mentioned this earlier, that it does take some time for Facebook to tell you whether your actions are OK or not according to them. So let's get right into it. Step 1, create a Facebook app. Let me zoom in on this. This is from the developer apps where you normally create your apps. Nothing new here. I typed the name for the app, and then we need an app namespace if you're going to publish to the timeline. So here we use FDGL-events. And we click OK. We go right back to our application. Scroll down. We're making a website. So I put in the address of the website here. It's fdgl.bluecrow.biz. Easy enough. Save our changes. And that's it. We're done with step 1. Step 2 is you have to authenticate the user. This is where we'll get into a tiny bit of code. So going back to our application, this is our index page, right? Index.html with the list of events. And what we're going to do here is we're going to add that little button at the top, the Add to Timeline, which is a Facebook button. I don't think it's very well named because it's just for authorizing the user. It doesn't really add anything to your timeline. So this is just, I'm not going to go through this code here. This is just the basic JavaScript FB initialization that you'd put in any Facebook page where you're using the JavaScript SDK. The only important part is we've got to include this XFBML true. And that's because this is all we need to add that button there. Really simple. It's a new tag, which Facebook is saying is in beta, but it works. Add to timeline, mode equals button. If you don't put mode equals button, you get this gigantic box that stays on your page that looks really ugly. I didn't like it. You could try it out. And then the rest of the code I've left out because it's pretty trivial. I'm setting up the HTML for the links and so on. But look at the code on GitHub. We're talking about a page of code here already. That's it. And what would happen then, if we put that code in there, is when the user clicks on the Add to Timeline, they're going to get this pop-up, request for permission, and you can tell the app yes or no, add to Facebook, or cancel. Easy enough. So step 3, this is where I think it gets interesting, is define the action, object, and aggregation. And what is this action, object, and aggregation? The action is some verb. So in this case, we're talking about attend would be the verb, right? And the object is an FDGL event. The aggregation is not so clear. That's just telling Facebook how you want this to show up on your timeline, what you want it to look like. So the steps are, tell Facebook about the attend action, tell them about the FDGL event object, and then tell them how it should look on this timeline, right? First step, we go back to our application, and we click on Open Graph up there. This is going to bring us to a page where they kind of explain it all to you. Get started with the Open Graph. And the part we're interested in is the part on the bottom there. I'll zoom in for you there. It says people can, and you put in your action there. So in this case, I put in attend, and then your object, you can attend an FDGL event, and you get started. Click there, and then Facebook is going to kind of lead you through each step. We've got edit your action type over here, and then edit your object type and create an aggregation. So we'll go through each of those. Now, these pages, I think this is what maybe turns a lot of people off, is you go into these pages and there's a long list of options. The cool thing is you can just choose the defaults, and that's what we're going to do. So we scroll down on this page. I didn't change anything here so far. The attend is already filled in. I didn't fill out the action properties or anything else. You could double check that the past tense is correct, attended, present tense is correct, and so on. But all I did here is actually just press the save and next button. So we're already on to defining our object type. It fills in FDGL event for you here. I was really curious if a space would work in that name, because that's going to end up being something used in your HTML, and I guess they replaced that space with an underscore, something to be aware of. But again, you could check that the plural is correct. FDGL event turns into FDGL events, but I just hit save and next here. And now we're on to aggregation. Here we've got some cool options. It looks like you could set up a list, gallery, table, map, which sounds like it could be fun, item or number. And then I only changed one thing on this page. For the aggregation title, it's going to say FDGL attendance on your timeline. And it kind of gives you not so hot preview there, but it kind of shows what it's supposed to look like on your timeline. But easier to just code on and you'll see what it looks like anyway. So we click Save Changes there, and we're then back to this summary page. It tells you what action types, object types, and aggregations you've already created. And that should be it for that part. So on to step 4. This is the last step. We're almost there. Publish these actions for your users. So here, what we've got to do is we've told Facebook what an FDGL event is, that we have those kinds of objects, but now we have to create a real one of those objects. And then we have to write code for that post, for that button. So what are we talking about in terms of a real object? It's just this January or November 2011 or October 2011 event. Those are our objects that we want to make Facebook aware of. So if, for example, we choose the January 2012 event, tonight's event, then what we're going to do is we're going to turn this web page into a Facebook object by adding meta tags. And Facebook makes it really easy for you. We go back to that summary page, and underneath the object type section there, there's a little link for get code. So you click on get code, and Facebook will come back with something like this, which you're going to paste into your, the head part of your HTML. I've highlighted what I've changed. So I had to change the URL down there. That's going to be the URL to the page I just showed you. Really easy. And then this stuff is very obvious. It's just a title for your object, a description, and if you want, an image. So now, according to Facebook, this is actually a Facebook object, and a Facebook object of the type FDGL event. So the only thing we have left to do here is to code for this attend button to publish it to their timeline. So here again, Facebook tries to help us out. Under the action types, they've got a link for get code. So we press this. I did this all last night, by the way. It's a late night last night. They give us some options here, more options than you'd get for the object itself. So we can, at the top, you could get code for seeing all of your actions, create a new attend action, or delete one. We want the create. So I copy that, and what it gives us is a curl command. For a high-level application, we're using an SDK. Probably not that useful. It is fun to play around with on the command line. And again, I've highlighted what you need to change here. Notice there's that FDGL event object that I told you about before, where it replaces the space with an underscore. But they give a URL to a sample object, which they automatically set up for you. So we want to change that URL to our page, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to take these here, and we're just going to copy them and paste them into a script for the Facebook SDK. So we just put those two things together, and what we have here is we're going to post to me/FDGL events. That FDGL events is the namespace. That was that thing we first typed in when we created the application. And within that namespace, we're going to use the attend action. And then what are we going to attend? All the rest of this is the event that we're attending. So the event equals this URL here that's all highlighted. At the very bottom there, I've got a callback which will handle errors or tell you that it's successful and give you an ID for that posted action. So one tiny thing left. We've got to create that button. So we just have a form here, and the onClicked calls that JavaScript function. And that's it. The application is done. We can go to the pub. So I think pretty simple. I mean, maybe if you're not a developer, this is all a bit over your head. But if you're a developer, I mean, go on GitHub and you'll see there's very little code there, and you can have an app that publishes the timeline. Start playing around with that. So what I wanted to show you is what this looks like, and here's where maybe if you're a manager or a social media manager or a business guy, this will really make a lot more sense now. We click on this attend button for the January event, and what we get here, you look over on the top, right over there, it posted something in the most recent activity. Kind of interesting. It is in the timeline. Your app wasn't in the timeline before, so that's cool. You get more chance for app discovery. That's what that looks like, zoomed in. Todd attended FDGL January 2012 event, and then it gives the name of the application. Users can click on those links, and it will bring you right to that page that we created before, allowing them to attend to kind of that viral spread thing, right? It also puts it in the ticker, and if a user hovers over that, they'll get a nice pop-up. This is for the October event. I didn't catch the January event in time. But again, users can click through to this and attend themselves. The cool part for me, though, is that, and this is why I didn't put just one event on here. I created, what do we have, 6 total events. If you have at least 5 actions against objects, then what happens is Facebook creates this aggregation thing that we were talking about before. That's where we told them what we want it to look like on the timeline. So now this is really a lot better, right? We get our own section on the timeline. We get a photo, a picture, 50 by 50 pixels, I think, and we're no longer in the more recent activity box. We get our own little box. That's what that looks like. So it shows all of the FDGL events that I've attended. People can like this, comment on it, and so on. But I really like that nice big box. Great place to get your app discovered. And that's it. That's all I have for you tonight. I will save questions for the pub, which brings us to where we're meeting. O'Neill's just around the corner. It's been a great night. I'm really excited that we did the show and share for the first time, and I hope to see you all next month. Thanks.